You're listening to Investify, preaching financial independence and assisting investors to achieve a more flexible and free lifestyle through smart financial planning and real estate investing. If leaving the corporate world and jumping into this thriving industry is what you desire, tune in and listen to stories of like-minded individuals who made the leap to financial independence. Equip yourself with the right tips and tricks to start your real estate journey, making active or passive ventures that are highly profitable and rewarding. Here are your hosts, Craig Curelop and Zeona McIntyre.
What's going on, everybody? You are listening to Investify. My name is Craig Curelop, aka the Fi Guy, and I'm here with my co-host Zeona McIntyre, aka Z Money. Z, how are you doing today?
Man, today's been a little challenging. So we're pet sitting, and one of the things that can happen is that sometimes you get old pets, and sometimes they're maybe gonna die. And so we actually are pet sitting friends of ours' pet, and he had just had a surgery. He's got cancer, and today he just took a turn for the worse, so he's currently at the vet. And I had to rush him over there before the show, and I'm a little worried about him. So, yeah.
Oh, no.
Sometimes bad things happen as a pet sitter. Yeah, he's 12, and he's a big dog. Yeah. Just happens.
I know you're babysitting 60 chickens, too. Do any of those die? I feel like chickens die pretty frequently.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of would wish that, but I don't think so. They just keep multiplying. Yeah. They're like bunny rabbits out there, those chickens.
Yeah. Well, we haven't heard them on this episode, so.
I've been muting myself.
You've done a great job at that.
Thank you.
You know, today's show is super interesting. It's super entertaining. I really highly recommend you guys listen through this whole thing because he just has story after story after story after story. Like, this dude could write a book on
so
crazy life-threatening story. Yeah. Then with okay, how did this get me involved in real estate? And I think it's great. And if you're watching this on YouTube, check out this dude's stash. It is impeccable.
It's quality.
I'm kind of jealous of it, honestly, but
yeah,
we'll keep that between you and me and all the listeners here. So we can all aspire. Z, we got to get you one of them fake stashes because we need that trifecta, the stash fecta. Right. Yeah. Anyway, let's again, guys, listen to this story. It is truly amazing, and I'm really excited to bring Andrew on the show. Andrew Tom, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you doing today, my man?
Well, I'm doing amazing. This is a dream come true. I've been listening to Bigger Pockets for only 2 years now, but I can't believe I'm on it. It's amazing.
Yeah,
how you guys doing?
Dream come true. That's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah,
this is the second best podcast of the Bigger Pockets.
All right.
Although,
I'm just
technically
kidding.
We're not. Yeah, Bigger Pockets is now number 2. We've now just officially declared that. We hit our 100,000 episode. Bigger Pockets is probably still behind us at some point, right? So, but speaking about journeys and Bigger Pockets and 100,000 and all that good stuff, Andrew, I want to hear your story, and I want to hear it from the beginning as to when you first heard about financial independence.
Well, so from the beginning, it kind of goes. I have this little story to tell you guys. I started. I'm a firefighter now, and I was when I started to hear about financial independence. But it was May 16th, 2020, when I almost died in a fire.
Wow.
And while I was on fire in the building is when I realized I need to be financially independent and retire early. And then, so ironically, on fire, I found fire.
Yeah.
So when I was in the building, when I was in the building, I was just kind of I was going to die. And I was kind of seeing the opposite of what other people say you see when you're about to die. So I saw what I had missed out on. And then I was trying to think, what's going on? Why am I in this building?
So, okay, Andrew, this seems like a story that you need to tell with a little bit of detail. And I hope you've told the story probably multiple times before so that you know how to tell it. And so, tell us, what call, like just give us like, hey, you know, when you got the call, did you know you were going to go into the building? How did you feel going into the building? How did you feel while in the building? Did you accomplish the mission in saving people? And like, just take us through all that, because I think most people listening to this probably have not been in a burning building.
Right. So I can try to make this quick because it's a long story, but short story long. I have I'm working an overtime shift in downtown LA. It's mostly commercial buildings, but there's a street there that's known as Bong Row. So there's a lot of products that, you know, are illegal there. So we go into the building, just like 6 of us go into the building and 5 go to the roof, just standard operations for firefighters to go put out a fire. I'm in there with 5 other guys when we just start hearing a loud noise, and then it's immediately turn around, run out the building type of deal. And then we get trapped. Like 1 second later, we get trapped in there, and we're all the way on the ground of heat and fire. And usually when something explodes like that, like if something exploded, we always it just recedes, you know, explodes. You see it in the movies, explodes, shoots out the windows, out the doors, and then it recedes in the smoke. This time, now that we're trapped inside there, the fire was just blowing out, when you see the videos, for 45 seconds, and we were trapped in there for all 45 seconds, all on fire. People on the roof, there were firefighters on the roof trying to get out. The sad thing is we were in there just to save the property, which almost killed us. So that was the sad thing. There was no people to save. We were just trying to save butane products and illegal tobacco products. But when I was trapped in there, I thought I was going to die, and everyone else did. We thought it was the end of our lives. There was no way out. And when we got to that point where I was like, wow, I really missed out on life, like the things I really wanted. I really wanted to try new experiences, travel the world, and start a family. Myself was probably the only single person in there, like single fire, like no kids, no wife, nothing. So I was like, man, I didn't even have kids, nothing. I'm just gonna just burn and like incinerate right here, and that's it. So that's when I realized, man, my true reason, my true why is what I think that's why I am where I am today, is because I found my real why, where some people don't really know their why until they get their why, and I got it right there.
I think it's amazing that when you are faced with death or faced with these these crazy life scenarios, that's when things start to become the most clear, right? Even though you're in such a state of distress. But and I'm not saying anyone go and put themselves in a life-threatening situation, but how do you gain that clarity in such a way? And so I guess my question is, how did you? So it was clear that you knew what you needed to accomplish, right? You wanted to travel, you wanted to start a family. There was more to life than just work. What made you get into the real estate financial independence side? Because there's so many ways to do it. You could have been a Forex trader or crypto geek.
Wait a minute, Craig. I want to know how he got out of the building, dang it.
He jumped, God damn it. He jumped. Well, so I'm just kidding.
We can go through the quick out of the building. There was this ladder like you'd see at Home Depot. A lot of people listening to this have seen those ladders because we all try to DIY, and we go to Home Depot a lot. So those ladders that you can reach higher shelves. There was one in the middle, and there was an aisle that we were walking down or going down, and there was one in the middle. And then I think when the chaos happened, either the whole building was shaking, the fire, everything, or one of us, but with that ladder turned perpendicular to our entry hallway in and out, so we couldn't get around it when we're crawling. It's one of those ladders, you can't just pick it up and move it, but so just crawling around it, eventually, I don't know, when you're about to die, you get that extra crazy strength, and somehow moved it a little bit, crawled around it, and then got out the building. I would have crawled for miles because I was so scared of the building collapsing, the fire, everything. But that led to me having to recover. I have I couldn't go back to work. I had burns on my back and my ears. So when I was recovering, there's only so much Netflix, Disney Plus, whatever you can watch. So I already read Rich Dad Poor Dad right before the fire. So I kind of already knew about real estate and properties and what it can do for you. But I started listening to Bigger Pockets, and I read my brother had a book called the Rental Property Book by Brandon Cherner. the blue one. So I was, all I could do was, I couldn't go out in the sun. So I just read that book while listening to podcasts every day, starting from episode 1. It was really boring at the time because I didn't know any of the concepts, but I got all the way caught up. Then I started doing times 1.5, finally like kind of sped up my podcast listening, and then got to times 2. And now I've reverted because they added a 1.4, so I kind of like listen to 1.4 now because I'm already caught up. I got into that, and I was like, I want to live my life, which I've always wanted to move to San Diego. So I was like, hey, it's time to buy a house in San Diego, and I'm gonna house hack it because that's the fastest way to financial independence and the easiest as far as being new.
And then you read the house hacking strategy, and it was all good from there, right? I hear that was a really
good
book.
Well, when I started hearing your podcast, I bought that book. And it was really good. And I was like, man, I'm implementing all these things without even reading it. This is great.
Oh, that's amazing, man. So no, that's a great, again, great kind of concept, and it's fun. And I love hearing those. I don't love hearing the stories, but I love hearing the stories of that, like, superhuman, crazy strength, crazy focus, right? Like, nothing else was on your mind when you were in that fire except getting the hell out of there. And it was just, honestly, it's kind of like a blessing, right? In terms, and it's kind of like a. Yeah, it's a blessing that you were out of work so that you could learn, so you could see this greater future. So now you are where you are today, and we're going to get into that a little bit. And so I guess, so you're moving to San Diego now. And what year is this that you're moving to San Diego?
So it was right when, like, the peak of COVID. May 2020 was the fire. After that, I was just like, I had time off, so I was like, I'm going to drive to San Diego and check it out. Then I met my realtor on a little walking trail. He was walking his cat. And I didn't know he was a realtor, but it was a great, like, one of those, like,
story after story. It's so good.
He had like a 1 pound, like, brand new, like, Bengal cat. I was like, this is cool. So we just started talking, and then we ended up, you know, being my realtor, and I told him what I wanted to do, and he was on board. So I got into it.
Tell me you're in California without telling me you're in California.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. No, that's okay. So moral of the story: go find somebody that's walking their cats, and that's your realtor. We have 2 cats, so I'm gonna start walking them just to start getting business like that guy did.
It might work. You might, if you move to California, it'll work.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so you met this guy on the trail.
Yeah. So all summer of 2020, I'm looking for. He's trying to push me to multifamily, but I'm brand new, so I'm still scared. So I'm looking at both. He's sending me multifamily, because he knows all about house hacking and all that stuff. And we find this one where we both like, oh, this is the one. It was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house. His has extra square footage that is unpermitted. A lot of San Diego homes have sunrooms that are unpermitted, but they're finished and they look really nice. So we went in on that one, and we got it.
So I feel like we need to stop you because it sounds like he's doing his for real deal.
The for real deal.
Yeah, this is the deal that makes you a real investor. And for some people, it's an accidental deal, but it sounds like you were being really intentional about this. And it sounds like you're so divinely led through this whole story. I just need to throw a little, like, woo-woo sparkle in there. But, like, I love that you had just so happened to read Rich Dad Poor Dad before the fire. That when you're in the fire, you're like, wait a minute, I need to live for financial independence. You get out of it, you, like, randomly find this guy on a path when you're, like, going to just visit the place that you've always wanted to live. So it just feels like you kind of did this sidestep of, like, this is where I want to be in my life, and I'm just going to go there and figure it out, and everything just, like, laid itself out for you. So I'm loving it. Yeah.
Right. So, I guess it's working out just the kind of the way I guess it's supposed to work out right now. A little slower than usual, but I mean, compared to some other people, but that's what I realized. It's not fast, which a lot of people need to realize. It's real estate isn't like TikTok where you get it instantly. This is a long game.
Yeah, so I need to tell you something right there. Something you just said that low key triggered me is you're comparing yourself to other people. Never do that. It is like the worst thing you can do because it'll just demotivate you. You'll never be at the top, right? Elon Musk is at the top. If you have a desire to reach Elon Musk, then you've got something wrong with you, right? And so like make sure everyone's got their own journey, everyone's got their own thing. So just keep chugging along at your pace. And so let's get into this first deal as step number 2. And so like tell us a little bit about what this deal looked like. Was it a single family quad? How'd you finance it? What was the price? Give us all those juicy spill the tea.
So let's it's in I have a friend in San Diego who knows everything about San Diego. He is like the ultimate like tour guide of San Diego. He knows geography, everything. He's been here his whole life. I said, hey, where's a good place to buy that's going to appreciate everything? He mentioned this neighborhood called Serra Mesa. It's right above where the San Diego Chargers Stadium used to be, but now it's the San Diego State College Stadium, and they bought the whole area around it, and they're going to revamp it. So it's like, this would be a good place to buy. Some of our friends grew up in this neighborhood, so I looked into it. All the homes are single family, built in 1960 range. So I found a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square foot home that actually is 1,900 square feet because it has the extra sunrooms that they have. And it was listed. Actually, I don't like putting list price because it doesn't matter. It's about the purchase price, and I purchased it at $755, and they gave all closing costs, so I didn't have to pay anything out of pocket, and I did 10% down conventional loan because I'm still new and I'm still a little scared, so I put a little bit down. I don't know why, just because. And then the interest rate then this is peak COVID, so it was only 2.875 at the time, and it was a fixer. So I was kind of going into like it was gonna be a house hack, and then I'm gonna burr it, but I haven't burred it yet. So
okay, so this 4-bed 2-bath home that's 1,500 square feet, and so what made this attractive to you? Was it the sunrooms that they kind of forgot to add in the square footage, or
that, and I knew that I wasn't gonna buy anything turnkey because I wanted to put work into it and build equity. It was a huge lot, which you don't find in San Diego, that backs up to a canyon. So that's also like for my happiness now, I'd like to have the canyon view and still be in like 20 minutes from the beach and 15 minutes from a downtown. So it's kind of like you get a little nature, you get your isolation, and you get to be close to a city. So that's what kind of draw me into it. And then and also like I can fix this up. I've been watching a lot of HGTV when I was off.
So I'm curious, like 700 and I think you said 29 is a pretty high price point. So for you on your very first deal, were you concerned about the price point? Did you have to get a cosigner, or did you like have the money all saved and whatnot?
So this isn't my first deal. It's my first intentional real estate investing deal, but I have a house in Las Vegas that I've owned since 2014, and that's been rented out until it's still rented out. And then I bought one. This is my worst money mistake. I bought a condo. I hate condos now. HOA fees kill you. I bought a condo in LA, and then I sold that one. Now I have a lot of saved up. I'm a pretty frugal guy, so I had a lot of saved up for the $750, 10% down purchase price, $755. 10% purchase price to put down and rehab it, and the plan was to get it all back, but I haven't done that yet.
Awesome. So you bought this thing for $755. It sounds like you probably put about $80,000 down after closing costs and all that good stuff. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, exactly. Around $80,000, and then rehab was around 65 initially, plus furniture, because my strategy was house hack to midterm rental to travel nurses, because that's what my older brother had done, and I was like, okay, I can furnish it and rent to travel nurses that are already like, background checks, good credit, good jobs, especially during the pandemic. They were like probably your most stable tenants.
Z, you know a thing or two about midterm rentals, don't you?
I sure do, and maybe this is a good time to take a pause and put in our ad. You guys know that we're doing these ads to keep the lights on, so bear with us. But Today I want to talk about my book. So Sarah Weaver and I wrote a book called 30 Days Stay, The Investor's Guide to Medium-Term Rentals. We like that medium-term word, but midterm, we're going to let Andrew go on that one. But like you said, it's a great place to get stable tenants that will pay more than long-term. So if you want to learn A to Z how to get it done, pick up our book at the Bigger Pockets bookstore, biggerpockets.com/30-day-stay. All right, back to Andrew.
See, why don't you like the term? Why don't you like midterm? Is that it reminds you too much of college?
Because short, mid, long? No. Medium, buddy. Medium.
I haven't read the book yet, so I have to change my terminology when it comes out.
You gotta get with the Gen Z times. It's like sus, mid, and lit.
Okay. I'll get right on that, Craig. Thanks for telling me all about Gen Z. I'm pretty sure
no problem.
You are not Gen Z.
I'm not Gen Z, but I'm trying to stay young. So yeah. Anyway, back to Andrew and your deal here. And so what? All right. So we already talked about the purchase price, how much you were putting down. Your plan was to do a medium-term rental because you could get a little bit more, and you like that business model. What were you anticipating? Were you planning on, you bought a 4-bed house, so were you just going to rent out the rooms on a medium-term basis, or were you able to split the house in a way?
So I just renovated, updated everything that needed to be done, and then I had a friend that's a firefighter down here in San Diego, so he was going to rent a room for me. So I had my one core property manager when I'm gone at work, because as a firefighter you're gone at work 24-hour shifts, so I don't even spend a lot of time at the house. So it's just like, if you're a firefighter or anybody does shift work, you might as well just house hack. It makes sense. I only sleep here 8 to 10 nights a month, so I had him come by, who also only sleeps here 8 to 10 nights a month, so a nice little tenant there. Then I got my second tenant from the travel nursing, they have Facebook groups and stuff where you can find them. So I got one from there, and then a friend had a friend that was going to move here, so I was like, oh, I'll just take that friend as well. So now I got 3 rooms rented out, and then I'm staying in the smallest room to maximize all the profits I could get from this house hack. And then a few months down the line, that one tenant that was a friend of a friend is just going to leave, so I blast there's a Facebook group page for just regular San Diego roommates, which is insane that in 1 to 2 days you will get 50 to 100 messages of people trying to get rooms in San Diego. But these aren't the travel nurses, but I just did it just to see, and wow, you get a lot of messages, and you get a lot of really good tenants and really bad ones. So I ended up finding a travel nurse, and then a regular guy that was wow, these are 2 really good tenants, but I only have 1 room. So what I was like, well, I'll get you both, but this is what I gotta do. I'm gonna move one in now, and then I have a shed in the backyard that I'm gonna convert, and then I'm just gonna move out into the shed, Craig Curelop style, and sleep in the shed, and then bring in the second good tenant. So I renovated. That was another the renovation cost. It cost $6,000 to renovate the shed. There's no plumbing and no electrical there, but I did buy this solar generator that I can plug all my stuff into. I'm only here 8 to 10 days a month, so it's no big deal for me. It's just, I honestly think it's one of the best places in the house because it's private, it's detached, it's quiet. I use the whole house, the kitchen, everything in here, but I have to go back there to sleep, which is I compare it to if I had a 10,000 square foot mansion. It's a shorter walk from my kitchen to my shed than a kitchen to the master bedrooms in those 10,000 square foot homes.
That is actually pretty funny, and I love that there's now a term. My name is a verb now, and I think that means I hate it, right? But I want to talk a little bit about your return on investment on that $6,000, right? And so, did you run those numbers in advance and you say, okay, it's going to cost me $6,000. How much more am I able to generate in rent per month with this $6,000? And when am I going to get paid back? And what's my payback on that? Did you run those numbers?
I did. So I don't run numbers I just do easy math. Okay, if I rent my room for $1,000 and this cost me $6,000. It'll all get paid back in 6 months. So I rented that room for $1,000, and that one person stayed 6 months. So I was like, oh, in 6 months it was paid off. And now it's been another, I don't know how long, but it's probably been another 6 months with the room rented. So now I'm in the positive $6,000 a month, $6,000 for that investment right now in less than a year.
Right, and so that's a 200% return on your investment, right? If you think of investments in terms of annual, right? You spend $6,000 now, and,
right.
and in 1 year, you've got $12,000. Like, that is an investment that any logical person would make any single day, especially if you're trying to accelerate your journey towards financial independence. So kudos to you, man, for thinking creatively and doing that. And so what are you getting, like, in total rent for this house?
So in total rent right now, it's $4,400, but it includes utilities, and my mortgage cost is $3,587. But I'm also giving my friend a really hefty discount because he's in the master bedroom with the private bath, and he's about to move out, so it's gonna go up to $4,900 in the next month.
Okay, and so why do you give your friend a discount?
He was first, so at the very beginning, I didn't know what I was doing. I just said, okay, my mortgage is approximately $3,700 or whatever it was. It was $3,700 at the time. It's lower now to $3,587. But I was like, okay, let's just do the math to break even. Okay, this room's gonna be this $1,000. This room's gonna be $1,100. This room's gonna be $800, and then whatever it equaled. And then I was just gonna be down $800 or whatever I was using the room for. That's why I wanted the smallest room. So, but now I'm slowly like increasing the rents. Like that room that was $1,000 to make a move to the shed is now $1,100. So everything's going up in San Diego.
So what do you think is the next move? Like, this sounds like a Todd Baldwin opportunity where you could look for 6-bedroom, 8-bedroom, crazy big houses that will rent by the room for so much, because it sounds like you can get $1,100 to $1,200 a room or something like that, maybe more if it's the master.
Right. Oh, the masters in San Diego's are at least $1,500. But yeah, I've been looking. I did buy another duplex, but I was looking for changing strategies into house hacking strategies, getting more bedrooms. Everything has to be minimum 4 in San Diego to cash flow. You can't cash flow off of 3 rooms. Even if you're renting all 3 rooms out, you can't cash flow. You need to have all 4 rented out to cash flow. So I wasn't looking for anything less than 4 bedrooms. So I found there's not many houses like that, and I wasn't willing to build partition walls to build bedrooms because it kind of ruins my out if I'm going to sell the place. That's my out. If all fails, I can just sell it. And if I have not a cookie cutter, but a cut up house with 8 bedrooms and no living room, then no one's going to want to buy that unless they listen to Craig Curelop.
Yeah, there you go. Andrew, so I want to ask a little bit about that first place, right? One last question on that one, just to kind of recap it. So, you said you're anticipating about $4,900 a month. Your mortgage payment's going to be like $3,600 or so. So you're cash flowing, after you pay utilities and set some money aside for repairs and vacancy and all that, you're cash flowing a few $100s a month still, and you're living in San Diego. Right, and so this is one of the most expensive markets in the entire country, and in these expensive markets, in order to cash flow, you need to get creative, and I can't think of a more ideal example than what you're doing with this short-term rental, renting out to friends, medium-term rental, living in the shed, right? And San Diego's warm, so you can live in the shed. But that's the formula right there. You try to find a duplex and rent it out traditionally, you're not going to do that in these expensive markets. But if you want to cash flow and get that appreciation, you're going to become very wealthy from these properties because you've got your cake and you're eating it too.
Craig, he just said that the next thing he bought was a duplex, so maybe he is going to make it work. Let's see what Andrew has to say.
So
spill the beans.
So I ended up looking around. Now I'm ready. Okay, I don't need a single family anymore. I can do a duplex, the stack method. 1 to 2 to 4. So now I'm on the 2. And I find this perfect, not perfect, but a great side-by-side duplex. Utilities are separated already, gas, electric, and water already separated, which is a huge deal. And it's detached side-by-side, not even attached. It's 2 single families on 1 lot. 2 bedroom, 1 bath. So it meets my 4 bedroom requirement. And it's in an upcoming neighborhood, which means it's ghetto. So I get this one. The interest rates are low. So this is where I was like debating, do I wait to cash out refi and get my money out of the equity in this house that I already bought? Or do I capitalize on these low interest rates and spend what I have left? And because then you can't cash out refi on because I'm doing owner occupied on the duplex, I can't cash out refi on an investment property, which is the 4 bedroom, 2 bath house. So I go ahead and get the duplex just because, I'm like, let's get it done. Let's start the next one. And then this is where now I'm not as good as I thought I was. Now I've inherited tenants. And then, man, that's almost like I've had the worst inherited tenant now that I think I'm willing to do inherited tenants. But at the time I was like, I'm never buying one with a tenant in it again. But it was COVID time again, or still. Well, COVID in California it's still right now. So we couldn't really remove any tenants. But I gave him a shot. I gave him here's your 60 days notice. I'm gonna move in. I need to move in because this is what I told the bank I was gonna do, and he didn't. On day 59, I got an email from a lawyer saying he is not leaving. So. Damn. So I get my lawyer, and I was like, okay, we're going to get rid of this guy, cash for keys, in the back of my mind. But I'm not going to let him know that. But he did know that. So a couple months later, I gave him cash for keys and got rid of that problem.
Okay, so 2-part question here. One, what happens if you go past that 60-day mark and you buy this thing as an owner-occupied house, but you're not able to get in because the tenants are in? Is the bank going to come after you, even though you're making a concerted effort and you've even got legal, attorneys involved to try to make this happen?
I don't know. Hopefully nothing, and hopefully I never find out.
And so, sorry.
I don't think so. I think that if he just has a paper trail, because he's got letters from lawyers, I'm pretty sure he's going to be fine.
Yeah, so as your intent was to move in, this person's not cooperating. So, yeah, I think I would agree with that you'll probably be okay. You probably don't even need to move in. Yeah. And so what is your plan with the cash for keys? How much were you offering him?
So I told my lawyer,
which I get him to move out.
I told my lawyer I'll do up to $5,000. Just a number I threw out there. It didn't really make sense. I didn't calculate. If he stays 2 months, 3 months, or whatever, I'm gonna lose that much rent. But that was equal to around 3 months of what he was paying. He was the tenants were paying $1,455 and $1,355 for the 2 separate units, and market rent now, because I got it rented out to a travel nurse, is $2,900 including utilities. So they're paying about half of what market rent is. So I did a little math, but not really. And then of course the lawyer came back and said they accepted $5,000. So I don't know what he did, but he got him out. I got the keys, and then it gets worse. And then so he'd been there 37 years. I mean, he's an ideal tenant, but you got to raise the rents and get. But I don't know. They probably never did any maintenance on the house. I had to redo everything. But I don't know what happened. But the day he gave me the keys, and I work in LA as a firefighter. So the day he gave me the keys, he gave them to my friend who's the realtor. And then I came back the next day to check on him, woohoo, got my keys, we're good to go. As I'm pulling up, I see the doors open. I'm like, oh no, what's going on? I thought I had a locksmith. I called a locksmith, changed the locks, get everything changed over the phone, and he did it. He got it all changed that night. And I'm like, wait a minute, I had to call my guy. I'm like, did you lock the door? Did you close the door behind you? Anyways, I pull up, and I'm walking up, the door's open, and I can hear people inside, and I was like, oh no, what's going on now? So I immediately just walk away. I call 911. I'm down the street, heart rate's just, you get that adrenaline rush. I'm like, what's going on? I call 911 and tell them someone's burglarizing my house right now. Someone's in it, But then while they're on the phone with me, the police department's like, "Oh, is there people in there?" And I said it's vacant, which I shouldn't have said. So we'll get to that in a second. But I said it's vacant. So they send a helicopter, all kinds of cops, like, and I have like, and I'm there.
This guy's full of stories today.
Yeah, I'm just there to meet some people to pick up all the trash he left. That was part of the cash for keys. I'll throw all your trash away. He was a hoarder, 37 years. I'll throw it all away. So I'm ready to meet my like trash pickup guys, and they're pulling up too at the same time as the cops. And I'm like, dude, get away, there's people in there. And then so they eventually the cops go in there, and they get there's two people in there, and they're just transients that move house to house, vacant house to house. It's all they do, squatters. So they were gonna squat here. I don't know how they knew my place was vacant. I don't know what happened, but they squatted the day after. They're already in there. So I don't know if it was a coincidence or not, but they had old windows on the house so that you could just slide them. There was no locks, so I had my guy board them up after that. But yeah, so since I said it was vacant, this is something everyone could learn, is that they're not like squatters. They're not burglars, so they don't arrest them. They just get a warning and say, hey, you can't squat here again. You get one warning. So the cops told me, like, here are their names. If they squat here again, then they get arrested. But they get a one like chance warning, and they just go to the next house and squat there and just keep going. I guess it's a squatter. The cops are saying there's like a squatter Facebook group where they know all the addresses that are vacant, and you just rotate. All the squatters rotate. So they just walked out. I was like, what? These guys caused me all this stress, and they can just walk away? And we had to go back and get their bag that they left in there for them.
Oh, man. Dude, that reminds me... This reminds me of the story of when I let meth heads into my house and rented to them for a while, and I called the cops, and the cops didn't do anything about it because they had a signed lease and they could smoke meth in their own house, apparently. And it's just like, what? Like, what do we pay you? Like, what do we pay you guys for? Right? Like... We need help. Like, I don't call for help every day, right? But the one time I need it, you're not able to help me. So I feel like that's kind of that situation.
So I feel like I've already had worst case scenario buying with a inherited tenant. So I'm willing to do it again now.
So you get all these guys out. It sounds like it was definitely a big headache. It was probably an added expense. This is dramatically under market rents. What did you say you bought this house for?
$720 for the duplex. 10% down again.
Did you buy it with like 10% down?
Conventional.
Okay, so you're putting another $80,000 down. And then, okay, so what was your once you got this thing cleared out and cleaned, what was your approach?
Oh, so I guess I got to go back to where I got more money from. I got it from that first property in Las Vegas. I cash out refied that one. This is like a no-brainer for me because of COVID. It shot up in price finally in Vegas. It took forever. So I was able to cash out refi on an investment property into a lower interest rate. It was 4.25%, and then I cashed out refi. It took $100,000 out, and it lowered my interest rate to 3.725. I was like, all right, I'll do that any day. So I took that money and I used it for the down payment on this duplex. So I was going to renovate it again, and then go to the midterm renters of travel nurses and furnish it again. And it took a while I've been using the same contractor. It took them a little longer than the 4-bedroom house, but I've got it rented now.
So just want to go back to the cash out refi for a second. Just for the listeners, how are cash out refis looked at tax-wise? Because you're not selling your property, is it seen as capital gains, or do you get to sidestep that until you do sell your property?
I'm pretty sure it's not capital gains because I showed my accountant all this stuff and they didn't say anything about it. So I don't know much about that, but I didn't have to declare anything like that.
Okay, great. So that's probably why people use that strategy. I just wasn't entirely sure. I haven't done that.
Oh yeah,
I'm not sure either.
Sure but that it is not a. Yeah, it's not a taxable event unless you sell. So you can refinance it 1,000,000 times. And that's why leverage and HELOCs are so powerful, is that you can get that money. It's basically tax-free money. You can use it again and again and again. But of course, if you sell, you're going to sell, like, you're going to pay taxes on the gain of your equity, whether you've got debt on it or not. So.
Thanks, Craig. educating everyone around the world.
One day at a time. Okay, Andrew, so what does this property look like today in terms of like what is the total rent look like on it? What's your mortgage payment and all that good stuff?
So I got a travel nurse in there. She pays $2,900. She's been blasting the AC, which is a problem. So my utility costs, I only budgeted $400 for utilities. She's hitting the $500. So it's essentially like renting it for $2,400 versus what it was before. It was $1,355. So she's there. Who knows how long they stay? But one thing about travel nursing in San Diego, this is where travel nurses come to die. They never travel away. They stay here forever. That first one I got in my 4-bedroom house is still there. It's been a year and a half. I would say almost 2 years, and she hasn't left. So they just love it in San Diego, and they never leave. So I'm gonna try to do the next. I gotta give the other unit 60-day notice and have them leave so I can renovate their unit. And it's terrible. They're like living with like in poor conditions. Like I am doing them a favor by having them like move out so I can renovate it. Like there's cockroaches everywhere. It's like everything needs to be removed.
And there's no issue, like, because the top unit is nice, and so like there's no issue with the cockroaches moving up to the top
they're
unit.
separate side by side, so they're detached side by side.
That's right. They're detached.
So
that's right. You said that.
So that was one thing. I didn't have to ever move into this duplex because it took over a year for me to finally renovate it. Like I technically could have moved in when it was in poor condition, but I didn't because I had to renovate it. It was terrible. So by the time a year hit of the owner-occupied loan part that we have to abide by, it was already passed. So I still stay in the shed.
Okay. No, this sounds great, man. Like again, you're just being creative in a market that you need to be creative in. Like you don't say I can't invest in San Diego. You say how can I invest in San Diego, and you figured out a way to do it. The cash flow in these properties seems pretty darn good for a high appreciating market. Where do you think these? Again, if you don't know exactly, it's okay. But ballpark at like how much equity you've got in these two properties in San Diego.
Wow, equity. Wow, the house appreciated a lot because San Diego appreciated a lot, and it's a house. So that one I've gotten probably like $300,000 in equity if I would have, I think it's going down now. So we'll see. And then probably only like $100,000 of equity into the duplex.
Yeah, so in two houses and in 2 years, basically, you're making $400,000. You've increased your net worth $400,000 just from these two properties. That's $200,000 a year. That's a pretty darn good salary, and that's why real estate investing is so powerful. And that's why I always say cash flow is great, right? Cash flow makes you free, it makes you financially independent, but it's the appreciation that makes you rich, and it's a clear example there.
Right. I'm definitely not cash flowing as much as I could if I was in like the Midwest or anything like that, but the appreciation is huge right now, and I'm living for free and I'm saving money and for the next purchase.
I love that, man.
That sounds great. So are you going to buy a quad for your next property now to continue the stack and then just fill it with only nurses?
Well, I'm looking at them. I'm always looking at it every day. I get like, my little, I like Redfin, just their interface is better, but I get a little email blast about them. But I'm trying to figure out my DTI right now, my debt to income, and trying to figure out what's the next move. It's going to be to renovate this duplex, the other unit, and then get more cash flow from that. But we'll see what I can get with these interest rates going up right now. I haven't hit up a lender to see what I can afford, but the last time he mentioned it's like $500,000, which is nothing, and you can't get anything really in San Diego for that.
So with the single family home, what keeps you from putting nurses in every single bedroom? Just because you can generally get more for them.
So nurses like, what I'm finding through my experiences, they like their own unit. So I blasted on the travel nurse page, which is funny. Is I run the San Diego Travel Nurse Facebook group, so I accept my landlord competition and decline all the scammers in there and accept all these nurses. It's kind of a headache, but like it's like 1,000-person group now of all the people just for San Diego travel nursing. And yeah, that's why I get my little market research in that they like their own unit. So, but now that I have this master bedroom, this is comparable to their own unit, so they like this. So I just blasted it on the other San Diego page, like just regular roommates, not nurses or anything. And I've been finding really good quality tenants from there. So I'll give the travel nurses a chance. They get like a week leeway to hit me up, and then I'll blast it on the other page and get a really good tenant from there.
So just before we go into the final part of our show, I'm curious, are you using Furnish Finder too, or do you just do all the Facebook groups? Because I found those are kind of a heavy lift.
Yeah, I'm as cheap as you can be. I don't pay for really anything. So Furnish Finder, I just do the Facebook groups and get 50 messages in my spam folder in one day.
Dude, okay. Frugal check. Frugal versus cheap, but honestly, $99 a year, and you can use it for all of your units. You know, you're just getting tenant leads, so totally worth it. And another hack for you, just so you know you're maximizing yourself, is you can use Airbnb for 30 days plus. So list on Airbnb, even though they take 3%. I think it's just a really good move for you. So if anybody's listening, these are important. Reach out to me if you need help. But Andrew, come back.
Yes.
You're gonna
so I'm
know
like
that
the
I'm
old. I'm like the I'm like the old, like I think I'm getting old now where I'm like, you know, I've never booked with Airbnb, and we're like in 2022 now. I've never used it.
I've never used Airbnb.
I mean, I've had friends book it, family book it, and I just stay there. But I've never gone on the website and looked for anything. But I should. I definitely should. It's like using a flip phone right now. But I'm not.
Craig, Andrew's actually like 95. He just looks really good. He's got that like really good skin, you know. Yeah, he's hiding behind that mustache, but really he's an old guy.
Yeah, what is it? The Asian don't raisin, right? That's the epitome of that right there. Yeah.
Oh
I've had plastic surgery.
I haven't. Your wife is Asian, and that's the only reason why that's okay,
yes.
Craig.
My wife is 100% Chinese, and I'm half Jewish, so I feel like all the Asian and Jew jokes I'm allowed to say. If anybody's offended, stop listening. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but I always joke, though, because after the fire, we went to the burn center, and the burn surgeon or whatever we went to is a plastic surgeon. So I actually did get plastic surgery. So when I say I've had plastic surgery, I actually have.
Oh, that's funny. Maybe that's the trick. All right, Andrew. Well, I think we are about to head into our final part of the show. Before we get there, do you have any parting words of wisdom for our listeners?
Well, there's so many things I could say. That's why I'm here. But it goes to the book that I'm reading right now. I don't know if you want to go into that. But the book that I just read, it's called The Code of the Extraordinary Mind. I can't say the author's name, Vishen. But he talks about how we all grew up in our lives. It's based on whatever your parents taught you as a kid is how you are now. But if you grew up in a different family or a different country or a different city, you know you have a completely different mindset on life. So my advice just out there is like think about what your parents taught you. And is that the only way to live? Like, do you want to live exactly like your parents? Or do you want to live a different life? And that's kind of the path I've been on. Like, I grew up, and my parents did well. They did a great job. But, I mean, I want to live a different lifestyle. I want to travel, see the world, and see things that, like, you can never see, like, 1% of the population in the world will ever see. Like, that's what I want to do, and I can't do that if I just do the standard, you know, buy one house, have a mortgage paid off for 30 years, retire at 65, and then live your life. But that's just how we were taught. That's not how it has to be. So I would say definitely think about what you can do to reach what you want to do. If you're going to do the same thing your parents taught you, then you're going to be your parents. And is that what you want to do?
Yeah, it's interesting how each generation seems to have its own little flavor, right? Like in our parents' generation, it was successful to get the big house with the white picket fence and the dogs and all that good stuff and settle down. This generation, it is more like travel and freedom and this and that, right? And it seems to just work in cycles, right? I wouldn't be surprised if when we're grandparents, our kids are probably where our parents were, right? Or something like that. And I think it's really important, right? Because your parents are somebody that you look up to your entire life, right? Probably to the age of 18, they are typically like the idols, and that's who you look up to. And when you see that they're working at age 50 and 55, you're like, oh, shoot, like maybe I don't want to be like my parents. That's when you need to make that switch of like, okay, maybe my parents, they've done me great up to this point, but now I got to look somewhere else and look up to people in other ways, career-wise at least. And, I think, Andrew, you illustrated that perfectly.
It's for analogy purposes, and everyone will get this analogy is because everyone's seen The Office. Do you want to be like Jim Halpert? Like he works at a paper company forever and then just finds this is what America's teaching us is you should work at a paper company in office, you'll meet your love and start a family and stay there forever. If that's what you want, you can go on that path, but if you want something different, you got to do something different. House hacking's different.
Yep. Love that.
That should be your next t-shirt slogan. House hacking's different. You want to be different? House hacking's different.
House hacking's different.
Yeah, it sounds cool, dude.
Yeah, love it. All right, Andrew, well, thank you for that. And now let's move into the final four.
The final four.
Andrew, you kind of ruined this because my first question is, what are you reading right now? But maybe you started a new book. Wink, wink. So, what are you reading right now?
I'll tell you what I just read before that book, which it's probably one of my favorite books now, and I'd recommend it to anybody who has zero properties. This is will get you out of that, I forget what you call it, but where you're scared to move on. What's that called again?
Analysis paralysis.
Yes, this will get you, if you're scared of anything, this is the book. It doesn't have to be real estate related, but if you have any fear or resistance, it's called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. I don't know if you guys have read it, but it's basic, easy read. You'll finish it in 2 days maybe at most. Every page is like one paragraph, and it just teaches you how to identify your fears and resistance and overcome it. If I would have read that before, I would have been fire right now.
Oh my God, I need that. I'm a fraidy cat. I don't know if you guys know this about me because it sounds like I did a lot of cool shit, but I'm afraid of everything.
I didn't know about you, Z. I thought you were like a fearless rah-rah.
Everybody thinks that. I know. Well, I need this book.
You put on a good facade.
You'll finish this book. You'll finish this book instantly. It's such an easy read. So that's why I recommend if you're gonna read one last book before you make a deal or buy a property, it's this one.
Yeah, definitely read that book, and then also if you do find yourself scared, be like Z and fake it till you make it. Andrew, second question: Sure. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
The best piece of advice I received was when I was trying to be a firefighter, and it can relate for all of life, but being a firefighter is really competitive. It's really hard because once you become one, you never leave. You stay there for 30 years before you retire, which I do not plan on doing. I plan on retiring sooner because it's a demanding job. You lose a lot of time because you're at work all the time, and obviously you could die. So the best advice I was given was when I was trying to become one, someone told me, just don't get discouraged if you don't pass the first test or if you don't get hired by the first department, because if the ones that keep trying are the ones that get hired, and eventually you'll be a firefighter. So you can use that with anything. Don't get discouraged if you put in an offer and you don't get the deal. Don't just be like, oh, I'm done, I'm quitting. Just go on, move on to the next house. It wasn't meant to be to get that one. So just don't get discouraged. Just keep moving forward. It's the best advice I've gotten.
Nice. Yeah. There's no such thing as losing, only quitting, right?
Right.
Man, today I don't have any good questions for you because our other question is, what is your why? And we already know it's because you almost burned down in a fire.
Right. So I guess my why is to get my time back. I lose a lot of time at work. I'm basically trading time for money, and that's not how I want to live. Trading time for money is not ideal. The time is losing right now, and I realized that when I almost died. So I think everyone needs to find their why, as like I have, because when you just try to, like, a lot of people, I ask people like, hey, why do you want to do this? It's usually something like to be rich. I'm like, well, that's like the basic level of your why. Why do you want to be rich? To buy a boat. Well, why do you want to buy a boat? To have experiences on the water, go, fishing, or, wakeboarding with the family. Okay, that's your why, not to be rich. So, like, try to find your why like I have. My why is to get time back so I can travel, experience new cultures, the world, and eventually one day have a family, which is the hardest part of the why.
I love that. All right, Andrew, last question. Who would you rather have as a roommate? A bird or a goat?
Oh, man, this is a hard one. Does the bird talk?
It can be a parrot. Yeah, a parrot or a goat.
You know what? I would take a fainting goat. Have you ever seen the fainting goat?
There we go.
That entertained me every single day. They get super rigid and fall over. They faint. They literally get scared and then they stiff as a board and fall over. They're so funny. You can YouTube videos of fainting goats. I would get scared on purpose, but it is hilarious to watch those videos, and I'm okay with that. I don't like the little bird poops everywhere.
Yeah, and you can at least milk a goat and get some milk and make some feta cheese and goat cheese and all that good stuff. So I
think I chose goat also. I think I chose goat also because you can leave it outside. You never have to see it.
Fair enough. All right, Andrew, where can people find out more about you?
So the best place to reach me would be on my Instagram. Andrew B. Tom is my handle. I have my email is andrewbtom@gmail.com. I don't know if you can find me on my Facebook. I think a long time ago I hid myself, so you can't search my name. But yeah, Instagram, email, LinkedIn is Andrew Tom, 2 first names. So good luck finding me.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely look up Andrew B. Tom on Instagram. Hit him up with any questions, and we'll have Andrew. When this show airs, we'll have you on Instagram Live that afternoon. So if you guys are listening to this on the day of when this podcast releases, check out our Instagram Live this afternoon where we bring Andrew on to answer some of your questions. Andrew, thanks so much for coming on the show, and it was great to get to know you and great to get to know your story. Very inspiring and probably one of the craziest ones we've heard.
No, it's my pleasure to talk to you too. This is like I said at the beginning. This is the dream come true.
Awesome. Well, maybe we'll
make
meet.
dreams happen.
All right. See you, man.
See ya.
And that was Andrew Tom Z Money. What'd you think of Andrew?
Well, I mean, gosh, so entertaining. All the stories. It's like that whole one about his tenant and like how his tenant got. Well, I'm blaming the tenant, but I'm like, how did he change the locks and then there were squatters there the next day? Like, I feel like he probably like went on Facebook and like alerted all the squatters because he was vengeful. I don't know. But that was quite a story. And I was pretty mad about that lawyer. It sounded like he didn't even negotiate that $5,000. He just made them an offer. It's pretty lame.
Yeah, you'd think, I think oftentimes these professionals just kind of take the easiest route that the customer's giving them, right? And so, hey, they'll be happy with $5,000. Well, we'll say $5,000 then. But yeah, it would have been nice if they kind of negotiated down a little bit. But hey, that's what happened. That the lesson learned there, right? Is don't necessarily state your price. If your bottom line or the highest you're willing to go is $5,000, say $3,000, and then you can be lenient to $5,000 in your own head. But I think his story just truly, truly inspiring. Like the guy on fire, right? Like that's literally on fire. And again, I think his story is just like so amazing. How he found real estate and how now he's acting on it, and he's able to house hack in one of, like, even if he didn't almost die in a burning fire, the story would be amazing because he's cash flowing in one of the most expensive markets in the entire country, right? Again, so there's no such thing as I can't. It's how can I, and figure out the creative ways to do it. And he did it through midterm rentals. Which, Z, don't you have like some book or something about midterm rentals?
I already talked about that book, but if you guys want to pick it up, you can go to biggerpockets.com/30-day stay and just ignore Craig with all his renovations in the background. It sounds like you are at Mike Broadway. What's his name?
Mike Brockway. Yeah. I am at my buddy Mike Brockway's house. He's renovating his kitchen. So apologies for the background noise, but that should not take away from the amazing episode, and it also should not take away from us asking pretty please for a 5-star review on iTunes, because that is really what makes our show stand out, and what makes our show grow and keep wanting to serve everybody here. So please go ahead and do that, and let us know when you do. Shoot us a DM. I'm the Fi Guy on Instagram. Zeona McIntyre is Zeona McIntyre.
Zeona McIntyre. I love that you didn't know your name for a second.
I know. I just said my actual name. Yeah, I was like, wait a second. Yeah, one of those days. But thank you guys all for listening, and we will see you all next week.
That's it for this episode of Investify. We hope that these nuggets of real estate wisdom lead to more savvy financial planning and a clearer path towards financial freedom. For more content like this, subscribe to the show at investify.com. Don't forget to leave a rating and share it with your friends. Together, we can transform more real estate newbies into successful and clever investors. Thank you so much for listening. See you on the next one.